You just get to choose some guy with a big wizardy beard or not a wizardy beard.
What's up? My name is Casey Budge, and this actually is not Western Sounds. This is the Off-Season Podcast. The Off-Season Podcast is a kind of a force of circumstances that has gone on because I started a new job in the equine reproduction field. And for those of you who don't know, equine reproduction is really only busy from like January to the end of May through June-ish. So for those 6 months, I really don't have time to do anything else. And for the other 6 months, I'm kind of on a lot slower schedule. So I've decided to kind of revamp it into this. Also, I wanted to talk about more than just country music. I wanted to talk about a lot of different things. And so that's kind of where the Off-Season Podcast came from. And I'm still going to talk about country music because I love country music. But I'm also going to talk about movies and rodeo and all sorts of other things that I love talking about. But I didn't feel like I could talk about on Western Sounds because I didn't feel like that was what I set out to do with Western Sounds. So this is going to be kind of me every week talking, but I'm also going to bring on a number of like co-hosts and maybe some interviews and stuff depending on how it goes. And my first co-host for this week is going to be Bailey. Hi, Bailey.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going.
That's good. We are currently sitting inside because it's incredibly hot down here.
It's the sauna.
We live in the
not desert, but desert.
The
place where the sun hurt, or place where the air hurts your face, but it's
opposite. But not like it does where we're from.
Not where it does in Wyoming, Colorado.
Yeah. It just bakes you alive in a convection cooker outside.
Oh, that's so nice. I love being a rotisserie chicken.
Isn't it really, really nice being just rotisseried constantly? Yeah. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about this week on the podcast is the new Muscadine Bloodline album that came out. It's called Coastal Plain, and it is really, really good. I know that I said that about a lot of music, but this album is phenomenal. It's got a lot of really cool kind of story songs, which are kind of my gig. It's got a song that I absolutely love called Tickets to Turnpike that features Kyle Nix, the fiddle player from Turnpike. It's got a song called 10-90, and that's a really sweet love song. It is talking about a concept that my boss actually at my job was talking about the other day in one of our meetings, and he was talking about how in a marriage it's not, well, we're going to meet in the middle. It's that we are going to, okay, you bring whatever you have, and I will bring the rest. And I think that's a really cool concept that is not the typical for like our generation especially. It's, well, my needs aren't being met. They're not meeting me in the middle. It's very like a selfish kind of thing that goes on a lot of times. And this song is all about, well, you don't have to always bring 50%. You bring whatever you have, and I'll bring the rest. And I think that's a really fun concept, don't you?
Mm-hmm. It's... Casey was telling me the other day, like, it's hard to gauge because it's like everything that he does. I mean, for those of you who don't know, Casey is my boyfriend. But he was saying the other day, like he, I don't know, he does all my dishes all the time because I don't like doing dishes, and every time he does them, I feel like I have to do something in return to pay him back, you know. But he was like, you know, like, I do this out of the kindness of my heart. I don't do this to get something out of it. And I think that's important because, like, not everything has to be a 50-50 split. Not everything has to be, like, you know, if I give you something, you have to give me something back kind of deal. Like, it can be it can go both ways. Sometimes somebody's going to do a lot more than the other person, but then other times it's going to swap, and you just have to be okay with the hills and the climbs, and then the lows that come with that. Like, it's never going to be just 50-50. You're always going to have differences.
Yeah. And that's an important thing to keep in mind, like, just in general in life, like, not even in your romantic relationships, but in your work relationships or your friendships or anything like that. It's important to keep in mind that it's not always going to be a fair trade-off, 50-50. It's normally going to be one person putting in more effort than the other person, and you just kind of have to go through and decide, well, what am I okay with? What's a reasonable thing for me to expect from this person, and do I feel like I am getting the same value out of that, or do I need the same value out of that? And so that's kind of the evaluation that you have to make, and it's a complicated little topic, but I think that it's a great thing to think about in your relationships, is that it doesn't always have to be that 50-50.
Yeah. You can't be mad at lifting a finger more than somebody else on a day-to-day basis when you could be gracious and hope they do the same for you in the future, because they'll be like, oh, they did more yesterday, so maybe I'll do the majority today.
Yeah. Well, and I've been talking about the individual songs off this album, which I feel like is a little bit... It's not the meaning of the album. In the words of Muscadine themselves, they put on a post a week before the album came out that said, "The coastal plain of Alabama is the southwest portion of the state where they both spend 20 years of their lives. It's where they continuously draw inspiration. It's the culture they know, and their task was to make a record that took you there. The nuances and details that they labored on over this project can only be understood by listening it from top to bottom." So if you're going to listen to this album, listen to it all in one go. It's worth it. From the little interludes that they put in there to the little musical flares from one song to the next, it really gives a nice little cohesive feeling to the album. I will say, I wish that they had re-recorded Evernoon in there. I feel like that song would have fit really well in this album as well. But it's a really cool album, because I talked about this in my interview with Matt Moran a while ago, but he only listens to albums music when he has time to sit down and listen to like a full album, because he, like them, puts together albums, not just songs that can be slotted into a playlist. And I'm a big playlist guy. I like playlists, but with a project that people have put as much time and effort into making a album out of, I feel like it's important to listen to it in the structure that they want it. Turnpike does this a lot too. I feel like their albums are slotted in a certain way to make them feel like a cohesive experience. A few other artists do a really good job of this too, but there are certain artists that really do just take that extra time to make their albums feel cohesive, and that's not a diss against artists who don't do that, but it is a kind of a extra layer that I really enjoy in a lot of music. Do you have any albums that you feel like fit that kind of mold, or not really?
I mean, I'm sure I do. I just don't listen to music quite as intently as you do. I just kind of have it on as like background noise.
Yeah.
But on the topic of music, if you haven't listened to Britain's Got Talent winner 2024, Sydney Christmas yet, just go listen to her, because she's really great.
Sydney Christmas. That's the Bailey recommends for the week.
Yeah, she only has like 3 songs out on Spotify, but if you go listen to like her audition song, I think it's it's a song from Annie or something. But she just really great. I don't know. She's a cool vocalist. I think she's awesome. So
yeah, that's awesome. A few other songs that I like from the album. They put out a single before that was Mary Riley. I feel like that's just such a banger of a song. Good in This World, which is the song that kind of ends the album, is amazing. And then the way that they introduce the album is with a song called Two Tattered Tulips, and it's kind of like a gospel hymn about the main character, the author, being a tattered tulip, and then accepting God and it changing his life. And then he talks about a daffodil in the middle of it, and the next song is called Daffodils, and it's about this gal picking petals off of a daffodil. And so it's that little kind of stuff that I think adds just that little extra bit that makes this album so, so cool. The cover art for the album is also really cool. It's got a bunch of little pictures that are kind of images from the songs in the album. So, just overall, I really, really highly recommend The Coastal Plain by Muscadine Bloodline. It's one of my favorite albums that's come out this year. It is an overall experience, and I highly recommend that you go and listen to it. And if you do listen to it, try and listen to it. Set aside 35 minutes and just listen to it top to bottom, because it will transport you to South Alabama, and that's a fun little place to be. And if you want a little bit of extra spice in there, add in Evan Rudin at the end. That's what I do, and it tops it off really well.
Well, there you have it.
There you have it. So next we're going to talk about awesome, amazing, spectacularly terrible movie.
Yeah, don't play it up like it's good. It's not good.
No. So we went and saw Twisters, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Thereabouts, and we haven't had time to really record since then. But we're going to talk about Twisters a little bit now, too.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people saying that they really like it. I did not enjoy Twisters at all. There were some cool scenes in it where, like, the tornadoes were very well captured and that sort of thing. But I just felt like it was the most predictable plot you could have ever, like, put onto paper. And it was also incredibly cringy.
Yeah, it was very cringy. Which, like, Casey thinks about it more like, the plot was terrible and, like, super predictable. I think about it as, why did I go to this? Because, for one, I have somewhat of a phobia of storms. Don't like them. Never have. And then I decided to go watch a movie about tornadoes. And there's, like, a scene at the almost end of the movie where there's a tornado ripping apart a movie theater. I was like, oh no, I'm in a movie theater.
Yeah, they definitely did that on purpose, though. Don't you think that they definitely, like, put that?
It wasn't funny, man.
It was not funny. I did not appreciate that, and I don't even have, like, as big of a phobia about storms or anything. But yeah, that was definitely intentional. My biggest problem with the movie is
Glenn Powell.
I mean, yeah, Glenn Powell. That's actually, like, exactly the point that I was going to make about it, is that the characters in the movie doesn't change at all over the course of the movie. So, like, I like really character-driven stories. I like when the character has to change or adapt something about themselves to solve the issues of a movie. So, in Iron Man, for example, Iron Man's one of my favorite movies. I love the MCU anyway. Iron Man has to overcome his pride and his arrogance and set aside all this to go and defeat the Ten Rings and Obadiah. He has to, like, give up his wealth and his power and everything else, and he sets aside all of that to go and save the world. And in this movie, the main character girl, whose name I cannot remember for the life of me. Can you remember her name?
No, I just keep calling her, like, the girl from Where the Crawdads Sing, because it's the same actor, but I don't know her name.
And a much better movie anyway. But, so she starts off the movie, and by really no fault of her own, her love interest and her other friend end up getting killed by this tornado. And so that kind of sets her back, and she doesn't want to work on.
She doesn't want to chase storms anymore.
Yeah, she doesn't want to
reasonable.
chase storms anymore. But before that, she starts off the movie as a girl who's very smart, and she trusts her instincts, and she is working together with her team to to get this tornado stopping device out there, and she makes a reckless decision, and it doesn't work. And at the end of the movie, she works with Glenn Powell, so the same. She makes a reckless decision to drive out in the middle of the storm, and it's not like a personal change in her that allows her to beat the storm. It's just that she has a better model that she built, and I think that's just such a silly concept. Like, it's just that, oh, I didn't have this good enough tech at the time to do it. I don't like that resolution to the movie. I feel like that is not a quality story that I've gotten out of it. And also, Glenn Powell's so cringy in the movie that it actually made me want to vomit.
Hey, they're like sitting at the rodeo, and he's like, says something about like, well, like, we all have fears, and us bull riders just gotta ride our fears. And Casey looked at me and like stuck his finger in his mouth. I was like,
it was terrible.
It was bad.
Yeah, that's just such a cringy line. Like, we both are in the Western industry. I rodeoed in college, and it's so bad. It's just awful.
It's bad. And Glenn Powell saying it too, like it's just terrible, because as if anybody knows who Glenn Powell is, like, he's just a very like pretty boy kind of actor, and he's very good at acting. He is, but not in this particular movie.
I mean, I think that he was fine at portraying exactly what he was.
Exactly. That maybe it's just the character that was not good, but
yeah. And that's my other problem, is that Glenn Powell doesn't change at all throughout the movie. He's the same guy from the beginning to the end of the movie. Like, the other thing is that this movie is so predictable. Like, it's like, oh, this handsome bad boy turns out to not actually be a handsome bad boy, but he actually has a heart of gold. And the people with the fancy tech, who seem a little bit antagonistic at the beginning, are actually antagonistic. And they are doing bad things because they have more money. And money is bad. You should never have any money. You should go live with your rich, handsome Glenn Powell.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Glenn Powell is... But then we watched...
Top Gun Maverick
last week.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot better movie because it's cooler.
It's just so much. It's just such a better movie. I like the story in it. Just feels a little bit better. It all comes together nicer. Like, just all around. The character arcs make sense in that movie, because it's just a better written movie altogether. Also, Top Gun Maverick is way better than the original Top Gun. You can actually see the planes flying in Top Gun Maverick. And that's cool, because I went back and watched the original Top Gun a little while ago, and just because I wanted to watch it before I watched Top Gun Maverick again, and it's just like, you can't see where the planes are in relation to each other. It's just like face shot, quick plane shot, face shot, and it's like you can't get any spatial awareness. Whereas the new Top Gun movie, you can see where the planes are in relation to each other, because they actually flew planes for it, like, way more than in the first movie, which is partly because they had a much higher budget, but also because I feel like the cinematography and stuff is a lot better.
I was gonna say, like, it's 2020 whatever 2022 that it came out or something.
So, yeah.
Like, it's definitely, technology has improved a fair amount.
Yeah.
On it.
But at the end of the movie, spoilers for Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, if you haven't watched Top Gun Maverick and you've been living under a rock for the last however many years, don't.
First of all, what are you doing? But second of all, when they're flying back in the Tomcat and they're fighting the fifth generation fighter, Glenn Powell flies out, and he
saves their bacon.
And saves their bacon, and that led to Bailey saying possibly the funniest sentence.
Okay, so like little bit of context, like Maverick and Rooster, they just got shot down. Like they had to go steal an enemy plane. They're flying home, and then they're fighting all these 5th generation guys, and they run out of bullets and they run out of missiles, and they're SOL.
Sitting ducks.
They're sitting ducks. They're flying up in the air. They're flying upside down. I'm flying through the air.
I'm upside down.
I'm flying through the air. This is not good.
This is not good.
And they're about to die. And Glenn Powell, who's been waiting on the boat or wherever they launched from, comes off the boat after they told him not to earlier, and kills this one jet. Okay, just one shot, kills it, done, whatever. And then he's like super boastful. He's like, "Yeah, I'm that good. Like I just saved your guys' bacon. I did all this." He was in the movie for like 5 seconds. He sucks, and he took all the hero credit. Okay, and then I was listening, and we were quoting like the Twisters movie, like, "Oh, you got to ride your fears," and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Glenn Powell, and I'm afraid of guns and airplanes."
Yeah, it was excellent. And so we decided that disgraced Air Force pilot Glenn Powell decides, or not Air Force, Navy. I made the classic mistake, classic blunder, that they're in the Air Force, they're in the Navy, which is hilarious because after the first Top Gun movie came out, Navy enlistments went up, like spiked huge, and same thing with Top Gun Maverick. The Air Force enlistments jumped up a ton, and little did they know that they were actually in the Navy the whole time. The Top Gun is the Navy pilot school, so it's just funny. But yeah. Oh yeah, the Glenn Powell, after getting kicked out of the Navy for insubordination or something, decided that he wanted to go ride bulls and
become a redneck tornado chaser that sucks at his job.
Yeah. He wasn't very good at riding bulls, so he decided to go chase tornadoes because he needed to ride his fears. Chasing tornadoes is like riding bulls. You have to ride your fears.
You have to ride your fears. Ah, so bad.
It's such a bad line. But in the after he wasn't good at riding bulls, he decided to go chase tornadoes. And at the end of the movie, he wasn't even good at chasing tornadoes, and he also was a simp and didn't kiss the girl at the end either. He just flies with her to New York or wherever, and it's just a dumb movie. And then he goes on to be the character in
Anyone But You.
And Anyone But You, and can't swim.
And listens to whatever that song is. He's got like a song he has to listen to calm himself down because he sucks. So but, yeah, there's our thoughts on Glenn Powell and Twisters.
Yep.
And Top Gun Maverick.
The definitive review of Top Gun Maverick and Twisters is that Glenn Powell is a goofy guy.
Glenn Powell is a goofy guy.
He's a goofy, silly guy. He's just a goofy guy. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know. I feel like we had more planned out, but yeah. I know we wanted to add that in future episodes. I don't know if I'm going to be on every episode or not. Probably not, unless you guys think I'm hilarious, which does not happen very often.
I think she's hilarious. I think she's the funniest.
I have great comedic timing, but on a podcast, I'm not quite as comfy, I guess. I don't know. But if you, like in future episodes, if you have topics that you want us to talk about, or want us to discuss, or want us to tear apart, you can, like, I don't know, text Casey, or...
Yeah, well, if you want to keep seeing more about the Off-Season Podcast, just look us up on Instagram at the Off-Season Podcast, or on Twitter, Facebook, we're everywhere, the Off-Season Podcast, and you'll find all of the old Western Sounds feed, but also the new Off-Season Podcast stuff as well. If you guys would leave us a rating wherever you're listening, that would be awesome. And yeah, if you guys have anything that you want us to talk about, be sure to just shoot me a DM or whatever on any of those social media platforms. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you're listening, I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on with me, Bailey. It was fun.
You bet. Yeah, this is kind of like an intro to this new project Casey has come up with. So it's probably a wee bit shorter than some of the future episodes will be, I'm assuming. But yeah, hopefully you guys will give us some more topics to talk about and discuss and laugh at.
Yeah, I'll be talking about rodeo. I'll be talking about movies. I'll be talking about TV shows. I'll be talking about all sorts of other stuff. Also, I've watched House of the Dragon, and I'm really annoyed with the season. It was really good. Like, there were parts of it that were really good, but the end of the season just left, like, nothing really happened in the season. It was kind of frustrating because, like, at the end of the season, like, they're building up, and they're like, oh, war's about to happen. We're about to have all these big fights. And really the only fight of the season was when Melis and Rhaena, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I think that was her name. The old lady. So in House of the Dragon, there are characters named Rhaena.
Oh yeah, you told me about this.
Rhaenyra.
I am notoriously bad with names, which is why when we watch Lord of the Rings, okay, there's like a whole bunch of what are the S names?
Sauron and Saruman.
Okay, they were Salamander. And what was the other one?
I can't remember.
Sauerkraut or something? Salamander and sauerkraut, because I couldn't keep them straight. Also, I'm bad with phases, and in the House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones ones, there's too many white-haired albino people to keep track of. So I'm not with it. Okay, I get a little bored. Also, I don't sit down very well, so I like stand on my chair and I make fun of these characters, and then I'll go do something else for a little while, and then I come back. I'm like, wait, what happened? And he's like, oh, maybe you should have been watching. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'll go do something else, and then I'll come back, and I'm like, wait, they're battling again? I like those shows because they're like, they're so battle-y. They're all killing each other and just being crazy. Which, on that note, also, Casey brought his Xbox over the other day, and I've been playing a game where I get to play as a character, and I get to, like, overtake all these places and have so much fun and play as a character and get all these different guns and baseball bats and crazy stuff. And Casey played a game as a king where he has to marry people off in his court. And then he has to marry somebody himself. And he has to marry somebody that has attributes that he wants to pass on to his kids. Which is real life, but you don't get a character. You just get to choose some guy with a big wizardy beard. Or not a wizardy beard. He could have, like, whatever hair you want him to. He went through a lot of variations, but the wizardy beard is what he landed on. And basically, like, there's no character or anything. It's just, like, one of those games where you have to, like, you press on something, and then you wait for, like, 30 minutes, and then it's done. And that's all it is. And it seems ultimately very boring, but Casey nerded out over it. He loves it. I'm like, whatever you do you. I'm going to go shoot some people in my game after you get done.
So, for reference, Bailey has been playing Far Cry 5.
It's awesome.
It's really fun. And I've been playing Crusader Kings 3. And it's... Hearing you describe those two games just makes my day. It just makes me happy.
I'm explaining them exactly as they are.
Yeah, I mean...
It's just... In case, like, the one King's game is, like, right up Casey's alley. Like, he gets to choose what kind of attributes your person has, and they could be good with money, or they could be very diplomatic. And it used, like, 500 other words that I don't use on a daily basis, therefore, they're gone from my memory. I haven't used those words since I had, like, spelling tests in school, so I don't know what they are, and sometimes I have to ask Casey about it, and then I realize that I would much rather just be shooting people with a sniper rifle in my game. Also, I don't think that this game leads to violence in real life when you're 24 like I am.
Yeah, probably not. It's probably fine.
I think it's fine. I'm not a violent person towards anybody in person, so I think it's fine. Yeah, don't give your kids video games when they're little, because they just sit there on their video games. But when you're a 24-year-old that is sitting inside escaping the heat.
Because it's 1,000 degrees
because it's 1,000
outside.
degrees. I mean, for reference, yesterday, my house I have central heating and AC, like, very nice house, well insulated, and it was still at 79 degrees.
I bet your house was really nice when I was out wrestling Colts and minis yesterday.
You bet it was really nice. Yeah, I'm sure it was really nice. If you would have came into my house, it probably was great.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was out wrestling minis and baby horses in the 106 degree heat yesterday. It was super fun. Really appreciated that. Shout out to Dr. Alex.
Yeah, I don't have to wrestle mini ponies and baby horses. I only have one baby horse in a stall, and he's mean.
Oh, what's his name? What do we call him?
I mean,
Marvin.
I call him Marvin. So basically, it's this little orphan foal. We had to put his mom down when he was 2 days old, and he's always been super cute. He's a Frisian Percheron cross. He's giant. Okay, but he got like sick for a while. Had to give him some medicine. He's always been a little like on the lesser side, like just kind of lethargic all the time. Didn't have a whole lot of energy. Now that he has energy, he has turned into a wicked little warrior thing. And like I walked in the barn 2 days ago to go clean stalls, and he had my coworker like pinned up on the wall. He's big enough you can kind of beat him off of you now, but like you have to watch him because he'll pin his ears and just kind of come at you. Like he's got so much energy now. We've been having to like let him out every day and make sure he's getting run around because otherwise he just gets plain out nasty.
Yeah, that's kind of the hard part with orphan foals most of the time, isn't it?
Yeah, we haven't had many since I've been here. I know my boss has, but like I think this is the first one that we've had orphaned that we haven't been able to find like a nurse mare for, mainly because this is like he's part of our side project horses, which for reference we raise high dollar cutting horses, and so we've had a couple mares die on us out of those, but we've been able to find nurse mares. This one we bought the mare for it, like this was solely just to have around this mare, and when she died, like it was already going to cost us a lot to be able to keep this baby alive and to also to put the mare down after we took her to the vet. So like we thought it was a better idea to spend the money on milk replacer and raise him ourselves instead of get a nurse mare, just because I think there's so many other people in the industry that could use the nurse mares for other foals that like we had the time and the resources to be able to hand feed this one. So that was kind of our thinking behind that one.
Heck yeah. Well, we've kind of gone off on a side tangent, but
yeah. Sorry, we did the old Midwestern goodbye. We said goodbye and then we talked for another 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's probably not going to be an uncommon thing.
I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is, and I very much enjoyed recording this with you. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Heck yeah. We just shook hands.
Shook hands.
Shook hands.
Like gentlemen.
Like, you're a gentleman and a scholar. Go to my stable and take my finest horse. His name is Chauncey.
There's two things that Casey quotes a lot. It's that and I am Batman.
I'm Batman.
Yep, that's it.
Well, that's because I am Batman.
So weird.
¿Dónde están los drogas?
I've never heard you say that.
Have you not heard me say that?
No.
I think I say that more at work, actually.
Yeah, probably.
Whenever we're like making meds or anything. But it's from the Batman video. Have you ever seen that? Where Batman chooses his voice. It's super funny. So he starts off in like this. Where are the rest of the drugs going? Because he thinks that he should sound like a bat, which has like a high and squeaky like sonar kind of voice, and and the colonel's like, no, you shouldn't do that, and so he goes through a bunch of other voices, like he does like the ¿Dónde están los drogas? and he does like, oh governor, where are the rest of the drugs going? And like, where are the rest of the drugs going? Fuckface. And like
That's aggressive. You're gonna have to like bleep that out like all the people do on the podcast. They're like, oh, we can bleep that out later, but then they inevitably end up leaving it in because it's for comedic references.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
I've had no illusions about this being a family-friendly podcast.
I mean, so far it has been. Yeah. I don't even think we need to put a viewer discretion out for this podcast because you guys knew what you were getting into when you started. So
yeah, I'm still gonna put the explicit tag on it. Sucker. But thanks for listening, suckers.
Yeah. In all seriousness, now it's time to go.
For realsies this time. Be sure to check us out on our social medias, and come back. We'll probably record an episode. I'll probably record an episode every week or so, and try and get it out on the weekends. So, thank you so much for listening. This has been the Off Season Podcast. Bye-bye.